listening to Unravel with Natalie Denise.
Good evening, everybody, or if you're listening to me in the morning, good morning. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. And hello, Patriot Voice TV on Roku. Nice to have you guys. Thank you so much for watching this podcast on sexual exploitation, sex trafficking news. I get it all from my own platform, The Daily Traffic. For those of you that didn't know, that's on both Facebook and Instagram. And hopefully this venture will expand into other things other than those platforms. But with that, we have a lot going on. Just as some news before I get into the news, before I get into the headlines. Tomorrow, I will not be doing a live cast. I will be attending an event. So I will not be doing, it looks like I cut my hair. Sorry, I get distracted. I will not be doing a live tomorrow. I will be attending an event. So with that, don't expect me going live tomorrow. You guys can always go back to my other episodes. I'm sure there's something to catch up on. So tomorrow, no live. I will not be here. Okay. I will be attending an event tomorrow. All right. With that being said, we've got some headlines to cover, you all. Hello, let's say hi to the chat first. Hey, Keem, thanks so much for modding for me. I appreciate you. Smash that like button on the way in everywhere, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. On Patriot Voice, you can't, but just give a good loud cheer if you're watching from Patriot Voice and give a clap, right? And maybe while you're watching and you're cheering and you're clapping, tag me on Instagram, hashtag Natalie Denise, that you're watching me on Roku on Patriot Voice TV, and I'll shout you out. How about that? Hashtag Natalie Denise, record you watching this on Roku, and I will shout you out on Instagram. Yeah? Cool beans. What's up, Arla? What's up, Mark? What's up, The Only Warnley? What's up, Hot Chicks? What's up, Susan, Scott, Mel? What's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for watching. Let's jump in. We've got some subject matters to get mad at, as is our regular state of the news here. We're going to start out in Indiana. I believe this is in, where is this at? I had it. Okay, Sheridan News. Sheridan County. Sheridan man arraigned on 3 counts of sexual exploitation of children. In February of this year, 41-year-old Chris Hanel of Sheridan was arrested and charged with 3 counts of sexual exploitation of children for possessing sexually explicit images and videos of children. Hanel, at an arraignment hearing in district court Thursday, pleaded not guilty to all 3 of the charges. District Court Judge William Edelman approved the condition of Hanel's bond, allowing him to attend Sexual Behavior Treatment Center in Idaho. Okay, so this is in Idaho. While out on bond, Judge Edelman scheduled a pretrial conference on August 11th at 9 a.m. and set a jury trial for September 12th. According to court documents, an agent with the Department of Homeland Security assigned to the Wyoming, oh yes, this is in Wyoming. Okay, so I thought I saw something. Wyoming District of Criminal Investigation Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force began investigating a case November 16th, 2021, after a number of cyber tips were filed alleging that Hanel was using the messenger app Keek to access images and videos of child pornography. A subsequent investigation determined images and videos of child pornography were affiliated with a Keek account belonging to Hanel. Each account of sexual exploitation of children is punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. Right? So Wyoming, Idaho, it seems to be those are the 2 locations this is sourced from. All right. And in the next one, KCSO arrests a Wasco man in child exploitation investigation. This is coming from Bakersfield, California. This is not a long article, but nonetheless, like I say, even if it just provides a little bit of information, I'm glad for that, although these should be long articles. Ugh. Okay, the Kern County Sheriff's Office served a search warrant in West. They were able to serve the search warrant to Diego Emmanuel Gomez. Gomez is a 23-year-old man from Wasco. And through the search and arrest warrants, they allegedly discovered Gomez as a suspect in multiple sexual assault and or child exploitation investigations. He was now arrested and booked into Kern County Jail. So that is one, for now, less sexual predator off the Californian streets. Right? I know we're blowing through the first two, but there definitely are meatier articles that we're going to go through, which is why I'm saving my time to really save my breath on these, right? So then this next one's coming from lawncrime.com. The area this is covering is Mississippi. Get this, and I tell you, I'm coming for everybody. I don't care what position you held. I don't care what walk of life you come from, what political party you're affiliated with. I'm coming for everybody. I don't care. So this is a former police sergeant. He gets decades of prison time for sexually exploiting a child. A former Mississippi police sergeant was sentenced to 30 years in prison several months after he agreed to plead guilty to one count of producing a video of a minor engaging in sexually explicit conduct, the Department of Justice announced on Thursday. A copy of the plea agreement obtained by Law and Crime shows that Joshua Christopher Stockstill, 29, signed the document on October 25th, 2021. The agreement hit the court docket on November 30th, 2021. As Law and Crime previously reported, the defendant was busted in July of 2021, just hours after the FBI released a photo of him. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said it provided critical information which led to the arrest of Stockstill, who was known as investigators as John Doe 44. Prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Mississippi said that Stockstill was a sergeant with the Picayune, I think I pronounced that right, Picayune Police Department before he was arrested for enticing a minor to engage in sexually explicit conduct for the purpose of producing a visual depiction of such conduct with his cell phone camera in Pearl River County in November of 2018. According to the plea agreement, Stockstill admitted to one count of violating 18 USC 2251 A and E, which criminalizes the sexual exploitation of children and requires at least 15 years incarceration, but not more than 30. The court docket says that Stockstill's sentencing hearing took place on Wednesday before U.S. District Judge Taylor B. McNeil and Donald Trump appointee. It's an interesting point out there. The judge not only sentenced Stockstill to the statutory maximum of 30 years, he has also ordered the defendant to serve a lifetime of supervised release. The former sergeant was further ordered to pay $10,000 assessment under the AVVA, the Amy, Vicky, and Andy Child Pornography Victim Assistance Act in 2018. At the end of the hearing, Stockstill was handed over to the custody of the U.S. Marshal Service, a minute order said. So this is what I have to say about this, right? You guys see the difference already, right? You guys see the difference already, right? So let's talk about judges. No, I won't get off the subject, okay? I'm going to keep talking about this until we get the picture. This judge here is exemplary of how you should be treating these cases, not giving them the bare dirt minimum sentences, 3 months for sexualizing children. No, she gave him the max. She gave him 30 years. And after that, she was seeking more. Not only do you get 30 years, but after you get out, we're going to supervise you for the rest of your life. Hoping that the system has a good supervisory system at that time, because we all know how society is dwindling down on its statutes on these pedophiles. But this is how a judge ought to act in the case of child sexual exploitation, right? Not the earlier stated that you just give them the bare minimum. I do want to get into the details of this case. So we're going to go back. Sergeant accused of making child porn lustful touching after the FBI put his picture on a wanted poster. A now former Mississippi police sergeant was found himself on the other side of the law. So this is a story behind the sentencing of this sergeant. According to local news reports, and this is still coming from lawandcrime.com, Joshua Christopher Stockstill, who is 29 years old, was caught in a child pornography sting after FBI disseminated his photograph with the help of the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. The NCMEC said it provided critical information which led to the arrest of individuals known as John Doe 44. The center, which did not directly name Stockstill, described that John Doe as a man seen in a footage of child sexual abuse material. And NCMEC employs a team of analysts who work tirelessly to help identify clues in images and videos that might help locate abused children, the center said in a blog post. The team discovered an image of John Doe 44, which the FBI intern chose to make public. Within hours of the FBI releasing his photo to the public, he was identified and arrested, the NCMEC said in a statement. Every day we analyze images of child sexual abuse with the hope of identifying a clue that will lead us to the location where the child is being abused, said Shelley Allwang, director of the Exploited Children Division at NCMEC. One of the most useful clues is we did find is an adult face in the imagery. Law enforcement can make that information publicly available during their investigation. An FBI poster seeking information about John Doe 44 now simply contains the word arrested under the suspect's face. An accompanying FBI news release included the audio file of the defendant appearing to say the phrase 9 years old. The file presumably was gleaned from the video NCMEC handed over to the feds. Law enforcement officials are seeking information which will lead to the identification of said John Doe 44. The video depicting John Doe 44 is believed to have been produced prior to November of 2018. The FBI continued. John Doe 44 is described as a white male, likely between the age of 30 and 40. So they located him. They arrested him. Continued on. I'm trying to find some of this information. And here we go. It looks like they took down that piece of information from the FBI website. So what I just have to say about this is, again, that it does not matter whether you are in a position that, you should be, respected in. People disrespect themselves and disrespect their image and their profession by doing the things that they want to do that harms our most vulnerable in our society. So whether or not they are a homeless person or if they are a sergeant in the police force, you will be called out, and you ought to be called out no matter whatever your position is. Right? So I'm glad he is behind bars, that he is sentenced to the fullest extent. I think that is exemplary. Judge, a great way to exercise your judgment in a judge, no pun intended. But I believe that this was at the max level. That's what they sentenced him to, and I think that it needs to be more. So that means that there just needs to be an overhaul in the criminal justice system. So with that being said, glad he is off the streets, behind bars, and will be supervised for the rest of his life, given that the system will work to do that. Right? All right. The next story is coming from Northern Ontario, ctvnews.ca. Sudbury man exposed by takedown of darknet child exploitation site, say police. And this is in Canada. So for those of you listening to me in Canada, this one's for you. And I know you're out there. Sudbury police say that they have arrested Greater Sudbury area man who is accused of buying online child sexual abuse material on the dark web. Now, I'm curious to read in the story if this was the dark web that we know of, where you need an extra layer of security to get through, right? It's not just a regular website where it's www.saidwebsite.com. You have to go through an area of security settings in order to access the dark web. The takedown of one of the largest child pornography websites on the dark net following a 2019 international investigation into the purchasing of child exploitation materials using Bitcoin from WTV, Welcome to Video, from South Korea has led to arrests in 14 countries, police said in a news release. So I remember this story. There was actually a young man that ran this entire site in South Korea. It was a collaborative effort between law enforcement agencies in several countries, including the US, UK, and Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Information related to individuals living in Canada who purchased child exploitation materials from the website was sent to local police services by the RCMP so that law enforcement agencies could initiate investigations into individuals living in their jurisdictions, Greater Sudbury Police Service said. The information led to a raid of Greater Sudbury home on April 5th. As a result, a 28-year-old man has been charged with 2 counts, each of accessing child pornography and possessing child pornography. He has been held in custody following a bail hearing Wednesday, police said. His name will not be released in order to protect the identities of potential victims. The investigation into the incident is ongoing, Sudbury police added. Cybertip.ca is Canada's national tip line for reporting online sexual exploitation of children. Tips from the public can help protect children from sexual abuse. Canadians are encouraged to report concerns to cybertip.ca if someone know that they are being victimizing if someone they know is victimizing children online. All right. So one of the biggest dark net websites has led. I mean, this is one of the biggest dark net websites that ever existed on the dark net. You would think that this would be a headline in one of the most, mainstream news sources, even if it's a little bit alternative like Daily Mail, right? But no, it's not. It's not big news, and this is actually big news. Let's see, how many people did they find? Well, it led to arrests in 14 different countries. So good on Canada for making their arrests. I'm glad that there's some justice there. Right? Next story coming from WBIW.com. A Mitchell man is going to prison for a child exploitation probation violation. Lawrence Superior Court Second Judge Bob Klein sentenced a Mitchell man to 7 years plus 700 days in the Indiana Department of Correction Wednesday for the dissemination of child pornography and violating the terms of his probation. Brennan D. Winkler, 27, pleaded guilty to child exploitation of a level 4 felony as part of a negotiated plea agreement with the state of Indiana. Indiana law provides a range of sentencing for level 4 felony convictions with an advisory sentence of 6 years. The plea agreement, negotiated by Lawrence County Deputy Prosecutor Lisa Kemp and defense counsel David Shirkcliffe, outlines Winkler will serve 7 years in the Indiana Department of Correction with 6 years executed and 1 year served on the sex offender probation. In addition, Winkler is required by law to register as a sex offender for 10 years from the time of his release from incarceration. Oftentimes, these crimes involving the decimation and possession of child pornography portraying children from around the world are minimized because the victim isn't local, Kemp said. However, the state of Indiana views these children as the same if they were from our own community. We refuse to be complacent with crimes committed in Lawrence County. Here in Lawrence County, we became members of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force in 2021 under the administration of Lawrence County Prosecuting Attorney Samuel Arp II. At the time of his arrest for child exploitation and decimation of child pornography in August of 2021, Winkler was on probation for a 2020 felony conviction of leaving the scene of an accident. In addition to child pornography charges, Winkler also faced a revocation of the 786 days of a suspended sentence for violating his probation. Judge Klein revoked Winkler's suspended sentence and sentenced him to 700 days executed in the IDOC. Those days will run consecutive to his conviction of child exploitation. All right. Okay, here's where we get into a lot of meteor subjects. I just had to give you guys the local news first, but this is where I'm going to get you guys to chime in as well. Listen to this. Look at this. In fact, you want to know super Google super, only because it'll come up faster. Super Bowl, Myth, Washington Post. Let me see those. Let me see those. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, you guys remember this? Come on. Let me just let me do this really quick. I just want to show you guys, but this thing's going to give me a hard time. It's going to give me a hard time. So let me put this here. There we go. Got it. Bam. Okay, got it. All right. You guys remember this thing here? Increased sex trafficking during the Super Bowl is a dangerous myth, these LA sex workers say, and they never give the victims a voice. They always go straight to the sex workers. This was coming from the Washington Post. And I don't even think this was an opinion. I think this was like, oh, they were saying it for fact. Oh, Super Bowl sex trafficking during the Super Bowl. This is a myth. This is what they were saying, right? So now they're saying, and this is a preface that they are saying this is an opinion piece. What the GOP faux rage over child sexual exploitation is really about. They're saying that this is a whole right-wing conspiracy theory. And I'm going to show you guys a story after this that supports what I'm about to talk about, right? So they're saying this is a whole right-wing, like if you are at board meetings and you are a parent who is outraged by the sexualized nature of a curriculum in the school, or you don't want Disney sexualizing your children so early on in their adolescence, you are a right-wing false outrage conspiracy theorist. I can assure you this is what they're going to talk about, right? But really what it is parents just want a right to their children's education, and they want transparency to know if their curriculum is covering any sexual nature topics in school that might violate their innocence. Because, methinks the way that I believe I'm the last of a generation, right? I think the older millennials are the last of a generation that actually grew up in an analog setting and environment where we were able to play out. So we actually were we had nothing else but to play outside. We had nothing else but to have family time together, and we had nothing else but to sparingly socialize, on the phone, given that there were limits because there were cord phones, and then, there was one line, so your parents had to use a line. You know what I mean? Like, we had a natural balance, the older millennials, right? Anybody older, of course, you know what I'm talking about. We were the last to experience this analog generation, right? I forgot where I was going with that. But I know where I was going with that. So with that being said, I don't remember where it was to this point. I don't remember where it was to this point in school where they were teaching about, sexual things like this, where you can choose your gender and it's okay to explore your sexuality. Excuse me, to elementary school kids, to, like, I get the birds and the bees talk. Like, I understand sexual education. Like, yes, that should be taught, like, when you're a little bit older as a kid, like junior high, high school, right? Because that's where, the kids are going to start seeing and understanding things a little bit more, as well as there's a lot of influence, as you guys know, in high school. So, that's where they're like, okay, That's where sexual education should be, like, just very basic. Look, this is what's going to happen. There are diseases, there are risks, there are pregnancy risks, all these things. So these are like forewarnings of, hey, I know that your drive is changing, but this is what you're heading into if you don't have self-control and just wait, right? You're not adult enough to know to experience all that, because there's consequences to it. Basically is what I'm trying to say, right? That's where it stopped in my school. Right? So now parents have to go to a battlefield to understand what their kids are learning. And now this is a big deal to the extreme fringe viewpoints of a certain extreme spectrum that are saying, "Oh, you Republican right-wing people," right? And it shouldn't even be about Republican right wing. This should be about good versus bad. This should be about right versus wrong. And it is completely wrong to teach someone else's child about sexuality without the parent's permission. Straight up. That's it. That's it. Nothing else. It should just be that, right? Okay. And so, this is an opinion piece that is trying to debunk the parental rights that they are trying to fight for. One of the problems with deceitfully accusing your political opponents of moral abominations falls under the purview of ninth commandment: thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Another is brutalization and debasement of political discourse. This is what they're saying. Yet promiscuous, proof-free allegation of moral atrocity, say, of pedophilia, is perhaps the most dangerous because it dilutes the meaning of accusation itself. It empties the claim of real content. It replaces the recognition of horror with the performance of ploy. Okay, they're playing a word salad here. It perhaps is the most dangerous because it dilutes the meaning of the accusation itself. It empties the claim of real content. It replaces a recognition of a horror with the performance of ploy. How are we to tell whether this is a line that's being crossed? Here's the handy standard. This is Washington Post, so they're coming from a place of bias. If Senator Mitt Romney is accused of supporting sexual violation of children, then the accuser is a dangerous fool who cares little for actual crime of pedophilia. The argument of the hard right goes something like this. So this is their interpretation of people who have, anything to the right of a center piece of a political spectrum, you're automatically categorized as a right winger. Just wanted to let you know. Doesn't matter whether you're balanced, if you're center left, if you're center right, if you're anywhere near the center, center of a political spectrum, you're automatically categorized as a right winger. So this is what they're saying. This is what they're categorizing of us. This is what our argument looks like according to them. Because Supreme Court Justice designate Ketanji Brown Jackson was lenient on pedophilia in her sentencing record, which she was not. Yes, she was. Oh, yes, she was. I'm sorry. Yes, she was. Okay. Already wrong. Already wrong. Red flag. Let's drop a red flag in the chat. If you're watching me, drop a red flag emoji in the chat. Red flag. Red flag. I want to see nothing but red flags in the chat. Red flag, red flag, red flag. Yes, she was lenient on sentencings. She sentenced a man who reoffended to 3 months when the suggested was far more than that. She ignored evidence of child sex torture. She apologized to the abusers in court. Like, how is this not lenient? This is absolutely lenient. I'm seeing the red flags. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Red flag. That's what I want to see. Red flag. Red flag. That's right. That's what I want to see. Nothing but red flags, because this is nothing but a red flag. So they're saying it wasn't lenient. Yes, it was. It was lenient. She was lenient. Then they say Republican senators who vote for her are sprinkled with suspicion as well. Murkowski, Collins, and Romney tweeted Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene are pro pedophile just because they voted for KGB. The charge is now common, even trendy, among a particular kind of conservative culture warrior. You want me to tell you why? You want me to tell you why? I'm seeing these red flags and I love to see it. Love to see it. Love to see it. All these red flags in the chat. Red flag, red flag. Wonderful. I love to see you guys participating and listening. Got another one. Red flag. You want to know why this is a common trendy tag? Because you guys won't listen. Because you think lightly of this. You think that this is not a big deal. But the last straw is the children. That is the last straw, right? So the moment that you cross this boundary, like, okay, like, and look, this is our problem as a society too. We have been complicit with this and that until, you see the, you see the elections looking funny in different counties. You see your councilman acting funny in different counties. You see them approving budgets in certain counties, right? You want to know why? Because we were complicit. Because we were never involved in local government, and this is what we get, okay? And I'm preaching to me as well, okay? This is a speech for me as well. We're losing control. We're losing control. And so now that the children are the last straw, and this is what they're going after, this is why we all have to say, oh, hell no, no. Yes, this is pro pedofifi, okay? This is pro pedofifi. And so because everybody has been complicit in all aspects of grassroots organization, now we're starting to pick up the ball, right? But we need to pick it up a bit faster, because as fast as we're picking up the ball, the faster they're trying to work against it. So with this, oh, look. Oh, Maria Farmer. Hey, George Tonks. You sent me a DM. Okay. I'm going to check right now. Maria Farmer, for those of you who don't know, is... Oh, cool. Okay, cool. Gotcha, George. Thank you so much for this DM. Awesome. I'm so excited for that. Thank you, George. I will definitely shoot her a text. Thank you so much for that. I certainly will. So Maria Farmer is a Epstein victim. She testified recently in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. We went through that entire trial on my main channel, NatalieDenise.com. I'm sorry, it's not that. YouTube.com/NatalieDenise. We went through it day by day, all 2 weeks of it. Her testimony is incredible, and I'm excited to have her on. So thank you so much. Thank you. Epstein/Prince Andrew. Got it. Yes. So I'm excited to have her on. I would love to have her on. I'm going to shoot her a text. So let's steer back into this. Let's refocus into this story right here. The charge is now common, even trendy, among a particular kind of conservative culture warrior. If defending Florida Don't Say Gay bill, a spokesperson for Republican Governor Ron DeSantis claimed on Twitter, if you're against anti-grooming bill, you're probably a groomer, or at least you don't denounce the grooming of 4 to 8-year-old children. Now, this is what they say. This apparently includes conservative judicial experts who find the law overly broad and purposely vague, a measure whose intended consequence is to intimidate teachers from discussing sexuality in every single school grade. Absolutely. And I really hope they do feel intimidated, okay? Look, you guys wonder how the left stole culture? You want to know, and look, here's a positive outlook, though. I have a very positive outlook, because we're the punks. We're the rebels. We are the punks of the 1960s and the 1970s. I truly believe it. We are anti-mainstream. We're rebelling against a lot of the establishment. We're rebelling against a lot of the establishment rooted government. You know what I mean? Like, so I believe we're like the punk rock. We're the punk rock of our culture. So I have hope. I really do. But you want to know why they should feel intimidated because you have no jurisdiction over a parent's right to know what their kid is learning in school. You have no jurisdiction whatsoever, no say, no curriculum, nothing in hell over a child, someone else's child. So how dare you think that it is okay that you can talk about sexuality in school? I'm telling you, the older millennials, we are blessed. Okay, we are blessed because I don't remember that even. And I went to HAISD schools, right? The Houston Independent School District. And HISD today, like I wouldn't even want to imagine what that's like, because the curriculum, everything has changed in Houston, right? So I'm saying, like, the analog generations are truly blessed. We're truly, truly blessed to have lived a life of analog where we did not have to get this deeply infiltrated in our school curriculum. Now, so they're saying, oh, well, you're going to intimidate teachers from wanting to talk about sexuality in schools. They ought to be, absolutely 100% ought to be intimidated, because they have no jurisdiction over any children. They're there to teach them reading comprehension, how to spell, how to read, right? How to sound out, how to recognize colors and shapes, all of the basics. You are developing their frontal lobe cortex in an impressionable way that they understand the basics of education, not your sexual escapades. This is insane, right? Our politics, he says, who writes this too? Michael Gersten? Michael Gerson? Okay, groomer. And by the way, they hate to be called groomers. Okay, groomer. They hate that. They hate that. But you know what? We're tooth and nail right now for these kids and these younger generations right now. And for all of the sex victims out there that had no voice, we're tooth and nail right now. So we have to be this way. You have to be outspoken. Whether you are from the suburbs or whether you are from the hood, you have to be outspoken. I don't care where you're from, what walk of life, you have to show up at the school birds. You have to. Okay. And we're going to get into the Disney as well. We are going to get into Disney. Our politics, this is what he says, our politics needs a basic review of ethics, first making the charge of heinous crimes against anyone, including political opponent, demands strong evidence, let's say, at least compelling as that of former Judge Roy Moore and former House Speaker Dennis Hassert. I don't know what he's trying to allude to. First, making the charge of a heinous crime against anyone, including political opponent, demands strong evidence. Strong evidence? It's already the justice system is already stacked up against sex trafficked victims, sexually exploited victims, and children. It's already stacked up. The justice system already needs an overhaul. We just read the max sentence that this former police officer got was 30 years, right? 30 years. For me, personally, you don't even want to know what I think the penalty should be for offenders, for child abusers. You don't even want to know what my views are. But I'm just saying 30 years is not enough, and that's the max, right? I think there should be absolutely more. Second, this is what he says. Second, past grievance is not adequate justification for current calumny. I don't know what these literary flowers are about, but they definitely try to use them to spice up their opinion pieces. Some conservatives are perpetually perturbed by the charge from the left that are racist or white supremacists. Of course, they're going to use these buzzwords. I also have concerns about misapplying, diluting the powerful terms. So he's saying that we're overusing the term pedofifi. But the idea, because the opponent transgresses the norm and standard, no longer applies to anyone, is perversion of principle. It encourages partisans to unleash the most hyperbolic, vicious accusations they can imagine. Fighting unjust charges or other unjust charges makes our public life a theater of deception, defamation, and unconstrained malice. Again, literary flowers. Let's get through it. So let's get to the point. What's his name again? Michael Gerson. Let's get to the point. Where was I? I got too excited and I scrolled a little bit too fast. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. In the case of right, let's get through it. On the topic of teen sexuality, some realism and understanding are in order, he says. Most Americans now favor laws that prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in employment, housing, and public accommodations. This includes 62% of white evangelical Protestants. Okay, what do you have to say about evangelical Christians? But those on the left cannot expect any morally conservative parents to immediately or fully accept a concept of gender fluidity that emerged so recently in their perception of the moral universe. And this is especially true in settings such as public schools, where a broad ideological variety of parents feel a sense of ownership. At the same time, the world of sexuality and gender among young people has changed with the speed of a TikTok video. Exactly. Well, thank you for admitting that. Many children have friends who consider themselves trans or non binary. Students are likely to have encounters with families with two moms or two dads. In these circumstances, curiosity is given and silence is not a serious option. Encountering actual people rather than abstract controversies make claims on our tolerance, understanding, and kindness. These values must be taught by someone. Okay, so this is where he's trying to make his point. He was just trying to ease us in. The Florida strategy coming soon to a red state near you. You bet it is. Oh, you bet it is. You bet. You bet. Because guess what? Now, thank you for that. Now we have to go look at our local state legislators, right? We have to go see who represents our districts. You forced us to do that. So thank you. You bet it's going to come to a red state near you. And in fact, I hope we flip every single blue state to look at their legislation and to vote accordingly. This stuff is demonic, real. Like you really had to literary flower an entire opinion piece to make your point that, hey, we want to groom your children. Basically, that's it. That's all it is. The Florida strategy coming soon to a red state near you, he says, seems to assume that the age-appropriate discussion of sexuality amounts to the encouragement of sexual experimentation. And it does. Have you guys seen the parents at these school board meetings read aloud what's in their libraries? It is literal porn. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. I tried to do a podcast one time. I remember it was an episode when was it? I think it was like early fall of last year. We covered a podcast where we were actually covering a school board meeting where the parent was reading aloud this book, and it was on like being gay, right? And it was literal like gay porn, but like illustrated for children. I'm not even kidding you. And I'm sorry that I use such graphic language, but this is the reality. This is what is being perpetuated in our society right now. They want to put this in your kids' schools. Okay. Like I said yesterday, I go to youtube.com/Natalie Denise. I've been reporting on a lot of things that a lot of people called me a conspiracy theorist years ago. Now, New York Times, all of these mainstream media sources are now having to admit the things that we have been saying for years. I'm telling you what is coming around the corner. Your children are at stake. And if you don't act right now, they are going to be tainted by this horrendous ideology, and you're not going to be able to take it back. So right now that you have the power to take it in your hands, jump into the school board meetings. And I know that you're tired after work, and I know you have to cook dinner, and I know, but buy dinner one day, go to the school board meetings and give them a piece of your mind and get to know every single name on that school board. Because if this takes grip of your children, it is over. Okay. And another thing you can do too is take your children out of the public school system. Take them out. Make them starve. Make the public school system starve. Those are two options. Either you change the system yourself by showing up and applying pressure, or you take them out. Because if you don't, this is what they're going to be subject to. Right? So this guy, like, the primary goal of grossly unjust accusations of grooming is not the protection of children. It is a projection of power. And it is power that some in the GOP have gleefully abused. No, Michael Gerson, it's not about power. It's about calling it for what it is. You are a groomer. And this is a red flag. Let's drop a red flag in the chat. Drop a red flag in the chat, because this is nothing but grooming. What you're trying to do is throw literary flowers on a simple subject. You just want to be able to teach children sexuality in schools. You want to teach them about different genders and ideologies that are so fringe on a certain spectrum that it's just so obvious what this is wanting to do, when they should be comprehending basic skills. And you're impressed, children at a developmental stage, and I should talk about this a little bit at length. Children are at a developmental stage in elementary school where they are just soaking up everything. This is like their learning ground. They're soaking everything up like a sponge. This is actually there's a science to this, biology, where it's actually better to teach children different languages. If you want to teach your child different languages, it's better that they learn it while they're a child, because there's a chemistry in their brain that makes it more absorbent. They can absorb things much quicker, right? So that you should be nourishing your children with an educational experience that will absolutely enrich them, not infiltrate their brains with sexuality and have them grow up in this environment, right? You're confusing them. So no, you can't just teach people's children about sexuality when it's not your child. You just can't do that. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Got some red flags. Thank you so much for dropping the red flags. All these people with red Keem put the lobster. I haven't used a lobster in a long time, but the lobster is it's like an angry thing like that I used to do on my Instagram post, like drop a lobster because we're angry. We've got our claws out. Keem is the best. Thank you so much, Keem. We got Echo 5 Oscar, Catherine Pimentel, Sophia. Thank you guys for thank you for that, but that lobster got me. That was hilarious. Okay, but we're about to drop some more red flags. Okay, now sometimes Daily Beast lately they can get it right, but they absolutely got it wrong with this story. Okay. Look at this category that they place this under: false flags. Wow, Daily Beast, this is really a false flag. Kaylee Wheel wrote this article here. Okay. The far right's pedo obsession goes mainstream with calls to ammo to Disney fight. Yes, because again, you have no, listen, you go woke, you go broke. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. You want to infiltrate every single aspect of a child. You want to put, rainbows on Target clothes, right? Y'all go to Target during Pride. Oh, no, I'm sorry, everywhere during Pride, right? And it's like, rainbow this, rainbow that. Listen, when you're an adult and you want to make that decision about your sexuality, go at it. Because guess what? Listen, I'm going to put it in this way. When you go to drag shows and to gay clubs or whatever, what age do you have to be to get in? Right? Think of it like that. So when we're talking about like drag show, story hour and stuff like that, why would you bring an environment to a children's environment when in your own environment you have to be 21 and up to get up, right? To get into the club, right? So with that being said, you cannot just expect people to shove this down their throat that we need to accept Disney trying to they're saying that they're going to diversify their media a lot more. So with context, let me give you guys some context on Disney. I actually did a video on this on my main channel, youtube.com/Natalie Denise. Go check it out. But they staged a walkout. There's an LGBTQ community at Disney, and it was very small. Again, it is just an illustration of how all of this is playing out. There's always just a fringe minority that are the loudest, and then they get stuff changed just like that, just because the narrative leans more that way in a mainstream perspective. So this small faction of the LGBT community, because not all LGBT community agree with this, right? And like I say, I can't change the world, but I've got to give credit where it's due. Not all, and that's to the LGBT community too. Like if y'all disagree with sexualizing kids, y'all need to speak out and be loud about it, right? Because if not, at one point, this is going to infiltrate to the highest levels of even the LGBT. Where the point, and I'm not saying this to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm saying this because this is where it is heading. I'm telling you. They're going to make it a sexual preference, and it's going to be associated with your community, with the LGBT community, if you're in there, right? So I'm saying no. Yeah, like this is not a sexual preference whatsoever. Okay. But anyway, that fringe minority, the Disney workers, they staged a walkout saying, no, the Don't Say Gay bill, which had nothing to do with LGBTQ rights, had nothing to do with it. It had everything to do with the parents wanting to know the curriculum in their child's school and their children not being sexualized without them knowing about it, right? Because you hear about teachers infiltrating conversations and you can come out to me and not your parents, stuff like that, right? And then there's also the curriculum. So then Disney, they said they were going to stay neutral, but all of a sudden they flipped the script when this little minor group stages a walkout and they completely flip script up to a point and an extremity where they're now going to change all of their media, all of their Disney movies, their cartoons, everything to try to woke it up. Simply put, woke it up. We're going to include more trans and all these characters, right? Recently, it was a big deal within a Toy Story. It was like a Toy Story today. Oh, don't do this to me right now. Come on. Don't do this to me right now. Let me do this really quick. So they recently tried to do this with the Toy Story thing, right? So with this being said, now parents, they staged a walkout. They staged a protest in protest to Disney. And best believe they will be boycotting every single Disney product from now on. I'm going to be curious to see in the coming weeks what the Disney Plus subscriptions are going to look like. I apologize, guys. This just kind of shut out on me. So let me actually do this. Let me do this. This shut out on me because it was like, hey, you need to sign up for articles, and I don't want to do that. I'm not gonna pay Daily Beast one dime of my money. Okay, so let me remove this screen and let me share you another screen so we can read this article. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Here we are. Sure. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's get to this. Okay, because I know my rants just go on and on and on. Okay, and I'm just fiery. Okay, I'm a fiery but peaceful Latina here. Okay, cheese and crackers. I mean, I'm just like, if CNN can make up their own headline, I can too. I'm peaceful but fiery. All right, as Capitol rioters, drop a fire in the chat. Drop a fire emoji in the chat if you're peaceful but fiery. Anyway, as Capitol rioters fought the. Okay. So now y'all are gonna make this about J6. My goodness, dude. Like, just like they can't just. So now they're gonna make this about J6, right? If you're a fiery but peaceful parent fighting for your kids' rights to not be sexualized, you're a J6er now. Okay, as Capitol rioters fought with the police, J6, a Trump supporter named Sean McHugh allegedly heckled law enforcement. You guys are acting like pedophiles. He shouted at a police from a megaphone, according to the prosecutors. Is there a Second Amendment behind us? What are you going to do then? The insinuation that the Capitol Police supported pedophiles should there be a subject to violence was noteworthy, in part because McHugh had previously been convicted of statutory rape against a 14-year-old. McHugh alleged remarks, which is a bad thing. I can criticize my own people. So if he was shouting that and he was shouting that towards the Capitol Police and he himself was a pedophile, yeah, that should be called out. So I will give you guys that. You should call it out. Good on them, right? So, but I believe they're using this to leverage into their point, right? McHugh's alleged remarks about pedophilia might be instructable to more moderate Republicans in early 2021, but for years, the militant right, so we're militant rights, has encouraged violence on the basis of false and sometimes hypocritical accusations of child exploitation. Now, a year later, after the Capitol riots, or the event, I like to call it the J6 event because it was not a riot, okay? The broader GOP is embracing those baseless accusations, falsely conflating their foes and the LGBT community with pedophiles while amplifying calls to violence. Look, LGBTQ community. I'm just saying, look, I'm just saying, it's not us that's saying this. This biased leaning media article, The Daily Beast, is trying to already conflate you with this agenda, okay? You can't see it now, but they're going to they just add it on incrementally and incrementally and incrementally, where they're going to be like, this is sexual preference. I'm telling you, like, I've been seeing it from a mile away from years ago when I covered these types of subject matters. This is where it's heading into. Also, this is going to head into is this, what we're doing right here, is going to be considered hate speech one day. Watch. They're moving really fast. If you talk about child sexual exploitation, your hate speech. It's going to move into that. But anyway, sorry. So, falsely conflating their foes and the LGBT community with the pedophiles while amplifying calls to violence. It's a cynical line of attack that has already led to violence in fringe right communities. Now it's going mainstream. In recent weeks, the officials and pundits who call for ridiculous boycotts of Disney for opposing Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. Right-wing attempts to smear LGBT community as a predatory is nothing new. For decades, conservatives have attempted to malign gay people malign gay people as threatening to children, even while some of those same conservatives preyed on minors. But conspiracy-filled movement has revamped the panic for the marriage equality era. Oh no, don't make this about marriage equality era. You know what I mean? This isn't about the marriage equality era. She's talking like 90s now. This is 90s verbiage. The marriage equality era. They all have all the equality in the world. We don't treat them any different. But it's the fact that when you move into the children's area, that's where people have a problem. This is what they say. That conspiratorial, slurry conflating Democrats, pedophiles, and implicit calls for violence was in the works even before DJT's 2016 victory. In October of that year, they're saying the white supremacist Twitter account falsely accused HRC of being part of a gay. No, we didn't say that she was part of a gay pedophilia ring. We just said that she was accused of pedophilia activity. I don't know where you got this part from. But HRC ought to be questioned. I got a lot more questions about HRC, but thank you for bringing her up, Daily Beast. The rumors would become the basis of a discredited Pizzagate conspiracy theory, which wrongly claimed the Democratic elites are participating in child sex trafficking in Washington, D.C. pizzeria. Okay. I mean, y'all wanted to bring up Pizzagate. Nobody, if you look at conservative influencers, we're not talking about the pizza theory. We're not talking about that nowadays. We're going into but it is playing out before our eyes the sexualized nature of our society. So we call it out. But you guys conflated it with pizza theory. We didn't do that. You guys are doing that, right? So that makes me wonder, is this aligned with the pizza theory now? Right? We didn't do that. You guys are doing that. Listen to this from Daily Beast. From its outset, the hoax was virtually indistinguishable from calls for violence. The DC pizzeria, Comet Ping Pong, was inundated with threats. I will kill you personally, read one directed at the restaurant's owner less than 2 months. This is what they say, okay? I'm not saying that. After the hoax first appeared on Twitter, the gunman entered the restaurant and fired several rounds into the interior. He later told police that he was there to investigate Comet Ping Pong and rescue sex trafficked children from its interior. 2 years later, another man entered the restaurant and set fire to its curtains. Okay, so they're going into pizza theory. I don't know why. Why do they have to preface all of this? They're trying to pepper in all of these extremist situations with just normal parents that just don't want their children sexualized. Okay, then they go into the Proud Boys. There we go. They talk about counter demonstrators on the right in front of students at the poster promoting. All the students quickly discovered and destroyed the poster. Far right Twitter personalities. Okay. Continue on. Let me get to the point because they just literary flower this. Okay, here we go. Get this. While the pedo panic, right? Pedo panic ran rampant for the far right, elected Republicans remained somewhat removed from the smear until recent months. But amid the GOP push to ban references to LGBT people in schools, some politicians have fallen back on the far right's more bloodthirsty tropes. Like I said, because once you cross the line into children, that is the last straw. And I believe as a society, when we realize how much more children are being exploited and how much of an underground industry this is going to bring everybody together. It's not going to matter whether you're a left or a right, Democrat, Republican, Independent, libertarian, blue, green, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. When you understand the plight of children being exploited, it brings everybody together and nothing else matters, right? And this is the powerful nature of the anti-sexual exploitation movement, because once you realize that it affects everybody, which we read out every single day, and we call everybody out. I don't care if you're a Republican, you are a former judge, I don't care if you're a former police sergeant, or if you're an army member actively doing this, you're gonna get called out. I don't care who you are, okay? So yes, the moment that you move into children, yes, this is the last straw for humanity. And this is where we start to realize everything else is connected to this. They say in Florida, members of Governor Ron DeSantis' administration claimed that legislation banning references to LGBT people in schools, dubbed by the critics Don't Say Gay Law, was actually an anti-grooming bill. Grooming refers to the process of luring children for sexual abuse, but the right-wing campaign, they say, with origins of message boards like 4chan, attempts to repurpose the definition to include simply educating children about the range of topics, including race and gender. No, ma'am, it's not. I'm sorry. No, ma'am, it's not. Red flag. Throw some red flags in the chat. That's a red flag right there. No, it's not. She's trying to oversimplify this. It's not about it's just about including race and gender. No, it's not, dude. No, it's not, because if you go on TikTok right now and if you go look at all of these teachers that are actively talking about this, they're wanting to talk about their sexuality. They're wanting their children to identify their pronouns, and they get upset if their children don't call them by certain pronouns. They're trying to come back from a weekend talking about their relationship, activities over the weekend with their partners. No, it's not, bro. Like you are not inside the classroom. This goes off of nuances. So once you establish a basis that yes, you can talk about sexuality and you can talk about gender and all that, then these teachers are going to find tangents to talk about other things, right? Like this is just how plain old humanity works. When you give them a basis topic to talk about, there's always a tangent or a branch off subject, right? So it's not just it's not a QAnon conspiracy theory, pizza gate theory, nothing like that. It's not about that, okay? You're just trying to pepper that in to make us seem crazy. But it's not crazy because now people are starting to wake up from all walks of life. Doesn't matter if you're from suburbia, if you're from the hood. It doesn't matter if you're from Puerto Rico, if you're from, all these other places. Like everybody's waking up to this, okay? New York is waking up. California is waking up. Everybody is waking up to this. So you guys are in trouble. Just say that, right? Your ideologies are in trouble. You can't infiltrate schools anymore. Just say that. And you're seething. That's what's happening. You're seething because people are waking up and they're taking action. And because they're mobilized and they want to get more involved in their children's lives, and in the not more in their children's lives, but more inside their curriculums and what their children are learning, you're seething because parents are starting to realize this. And you don't like that parents are at school boards voicing their concerns and voicing what they want for their children. You're seething. Just say that. Just say that. The term's viral use this month accompanied new calls for violence after Walt Disney Company condemned Florida's anti-gay law. Far-right internet personality Jack Posobiec, oh, he's far-right, tweeted a picture of a t-shirt featuring an edited version of the Disney logo, "Boycott Groomers, Bring Ammo," the shirt read. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene also adopted the pedophilia smear. The Democrats are a party of pedophiles, the Georgia Republican claimed Tuesday night in a broadcast about trans children. She previously accused senators of being pro-pedo for confirming Judge Ketanji Brown into the Supreme Court. While Green's claims are baseless, this is how they do it. This is exactly how they're baseless. You know, they have no merit. Representative Durbin at the Ketanji Brown hearing, he was like, "I can't believe this turned into a QAnon conspiracy grounds for, conspiracy hearing, whatever." No, it's basic understanding. No. You're mad because you cannot manipulate the public anymore, is what it is. But basically, this is a big seethe by Kelly Wheel, is what it is. This is a big seethe, and she looks young. Okay, so she looks to be like maybe she's fresh out of college, maybe she was, indoctrinated through all this BS. But no, yes, I agree with all these parents. I'm sorry, not these parents. I agree with the parents who actually held a let's actually look this up on Twitter. I know I went a little bit over today, or maybe I'm right on time. No, I went a little over today. Wow, I got really passionate. I got really passionate today. I'm sorry, but these things just aggravate me so much. Like I just can't stand what I can't stand is when people try to manipulate me or try to manipulate the public, right? It won't work. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. So this was a protest that happened when over the weekend. It was on April 6th. So this was just yesterday. There was a protest of Disney. And these parents, they gathered together, and this is what it's going to take. It's going to take us gathering together and speaking out against this. Take a look at this. It's going to take that. Oops, there's all your subscriptions. That's all your wallet. Everything is going. And guess what? We build our own industry from now on. We build our own industries. We build our own economies. People are going to start their own animation studios. People are going to start their own animation production companies. They're going to start their own Pixar type of production companies, and we're going to make our own cartoons and movies for these children, because now you have completely lost credibility. You have absolutely lost your goddamn mind, excuse my language, but you've lost your goddamn mind to try to infiltrate the minds of children into thinking that they can be sexualized. I'm sorry, but this is the last straw. It truly is. So anyway, guys, I know I went over. Today just made me mad, okay? Today just made me mad at all of this, and people just need to be called out. But with that being said, thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for throwing the red flags and the emojis. This was fun. I should be asking for more emojis. I appreciate you all so much. Hey guys, be sure to go to nataliedenise.com. There you can either become a patron or you can grab my exclusives membership that I just started. That is a way you can support me and the things that I do. You can support the show. And with that being said, I appreciate you all. That's where I'm going to post some of my other controversial based opinions on current day topics that I can't post here. But with that being said, I love you all. I won't be here tomorrow because I will be at an event. So with that, just be sure to not expect me tomorrow. But anyway, guys, you have a great weekend. I'll be back. Actually, I won't be here Monday either, or Tuesday. So I guess I probably will see you guys Wednesday. I'm gonna try my best. Okay, I'm gonna try my best, but I will be at events. So we'll see. Okay, with that being said, I will be sure to keep you guys posted. You guys have a lovely weekend because I won't see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for a great night. I really appreciate you guys. And I will see you later. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natalie Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.